I'm not gonna lie, I probably have a tiny bias to older animes, like the 90s or 80s kind of old. I don't have anything against them, but I never go out of my way looking for ancient shows that might be good. It's based off a lot of things, but most of the time how they look on the outside isn't the best. It's a case by case situation, but for the most part I don't really have an issue with bad animation. And even if it does look bad, if the show is good enough I could overlook it. Like Berserk 2016, that was kind of my gateway into reading the manga. The animation never bothered me, until like a year later, when I look back and saw how shit it was. When did they have a black guy in a bulldog boar thing pouch? Yeah, this ain't right. Maybe they're right. Yeah. It did not look like this. At first when I saw old animation, because of the older style from back then, I confused it with being bad animation, cause mostly everything used to be hand-drawn, so it had a certain look to it. And to the old me, that equaled bad animation. I remember arguing with my friend about shows with good animation, and he bring up Cowboy Bebop. It was mostly me trying to cope, but I also half believed it when I said that animation was bad, because he was saying that Cowboy Bebop had the best animation out of any anime. And I still don't think that's true. It has good animation but not the best. To me that's probably Redline or One Punch Man, but I was bullshitting and making it sound like the animation was terrible. Even now I still think the quality is way higher than the current average, and recently animes in general just got a lot better in animation. Or it might be that Mappa is making like 80% of the animes now, so it feels that way. But the only really old animes I watch are the ones people praise the fuck out of. The GTOs or the Claymores or the Simpsons. What? There's probably something out there I would really like, but I won't find it probably because no one talks about it anymore. That's basically what happened to me with Trigun. I definitely heard about it before, but it's just one of those names you hear get tossed around in conversations. I never looked into it or knew anything past the name, but now it's getting remade into a new anime in 2023. Like new story and everything, I'm pretty sure. People were saying it's gonna be ass and ruin Trigun, but they made it really fucking clear they weren't trying to redo the story. The music was synced up with big bold letters saying its original plot, so I don't know how 90% of the comments missed it. That and they changed Vash's character design. His old design does look better, but they're trying to make their own version of Trigun, and the new one isn't bad looking. It still looks good. It's just a more modern version. The people in the comments were calling Trigun buzzwords, like masterpiece or a classic, and the trailer was good too, so it got me in the mood to watch the old anime. I just finished the first part, and now I'm getting into the second in the manga, so I wanted to talk about it halfway through the whole story. From the trailer, I thought it would be like a Star Wars kind of journey, and at least so far, it really isn't that at all. It's more of a cowboy style anime, but they did start out in space. People on Earth are branching out to look for other planets to live on. Vash and Knives, who's his brother, are plants that humans made. They were made to be life sources for the new planets they settle on, and they made the plants humanoid for a really edgy joke that never landed, because they were supposed to live in a light bulb, and they would just suck the life force out of them. Basically Fire Punch, but a more tame version of what they did to blessed humans. But Vash and Knives could live outside the bulb and be normal humans basically. So they were living on the ship with the other crewmates, but some of them were being passive aggressive, like they would feed them vegetables on purpose. That shit was pretty fucked up. Vash ended up being the kind-hearted genuine brother, and Knives turned into the kind of guy who expects somebody with the name Knife. A guy was sipping for a girl on the ship, and Knives used that to manipulate them all to kill each other, and escaped onto a nearby planet with Vash. I kind of skimmed over that part on purpose, but you get the gist of it. Knives was a piece of shit. They crash landed onto a desert planet and started to wander around a bit. Minus the crewmates that died, they had other humans on the ship, but they kept them all frozen until they found a planet to live on. Those humans also fell onto the planet, and after a few years they started building villages, and then towns, and then cities. Vash and Knives were traveling together for a few decades, until Knives made guns to wipe off the humans, so it can be just them. After he turned into Hitler, Vash and Knives split up and went off to do their own thing, and then that's where their story starts more or less. That's basically the prologue of the story before episode 1. I'm not gonna lie, after finishing the first part, I don't know what made people praise it so much. Everybody calls new shit a masterpiece all the time, so I'm used to it. But for something old like this, I was expecting it to actually be what people called it. I thought it was what the fuck is one of my... I thought it was really good, but not a classic or a masterpiece, like people made it sound. There's nothing bad to say about it. Everything it had was really good. I don't know what it was missing to put at that level, but whatever it was, I wasn't feeling it. As a character, Vash is definitely the type of character I really like, and his friendship with Wolfwood made it interesting. I'm only halfway through, so what I'm saying now might change, but out of all the characters I've seen that are all the way good, Vash is the best, and by a lot. He's probably one of the first characters to commit to it, and one of the only ones I like the whole way through. Having an MC like that is kind of the standard now, but some authors do it in a way that's forcing it, or they don't commit all the way. Like Kakahashi is a really bad version of what Vash is supposed to be. In the first episode of Platinum End, They set it up like he was gonna learn to be selfish over time, because he was always talking about his happiness or for people he cared about, not for a city or something. But they changed it midway and forced him to be Superman, no matter how much it fucked him over and ruined it. Making an MC that doesn't give a shit is starting to get more common, but it's still an outlier. Most of them are gonna be on some goody two-shoes shit. When Kakahashi was being good, it felt artificial, but when Vash did it, it felt genuine. Vash wants to save everybody because that's part of his morals. Because of a girl in his backstory, he got raised as a human, and having morals is part of that. So he does everything in his power to be consistent with it. Because he clings to what he was taught, Vash has scars and stitches all over his body. It was more for his own sake, of staying true to himself, and that ended up with him protecting people. So it's more of a selfish reason, but it ends up being a good deed, and they don't give him the win every time just because he wants to be nice. A lot of times him not killing somebody ended up with more people dying. Vash got reality checked a couple of times, and was forced to see that being a pacifist wasn't foolproof. Ironically, he caused more harm than good being passive and not killing people. It was really testing and pushing how far he would go with it. In that aspect, Wolfwood was the opposite to him, where he would kill anybody to keep himself happy. The only difference they had was what they believed in. They both tried to be consistent. You could kind of feel Kakahashi didn't really care about saving people the way Vash did. He was put into a pretty gritty world, but he was still pretty optimistic. No one was folding into his way of life after losing to him. Some characters might change their POV from meeting Vash, but they didn't become a good guy or anything after losing to him. They either died with their same ideas, or after meeting Vash, they just moved on with their life. Vash never got pampered for trying to be a good person. Everything that happened to him was trying to push him away from that, if anything. I think it's worth watching, definitely. The praise it got inflated what I was expecting, but it still was really good. Most of the time, when I feel like a show is exaggerated, I start calling the show underrated or something, but I still think it's a really good show even after that. So that says something about how good it really is. I don't see at the level people praise it at yet, but in my gut, I still think it's not overhyped. It's not far from that masterpiece level, but there's something about it that I feel like is missing. If you enjoyed, go watch some other shit about anime. That's all I have to say though. Peace. I want the video to hit 7 minutes, so hi.